All right, welcome to Hoops Tonight here at The Volume. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope all of you guys are having a great week. We are going to be reacting to the Las Vegas Aces going on the road and getting a huge win in Indiana against a red-hot Fever team that had won 10 of their previous 13 games, pretty much shutting down their offense, the same offense that had been the number one offense in the league over that 13-game span. We're going to break down that game from the perspective of both teams, and then we'll get out of here for the night. You guys know the drill. Before we get started, subscribe to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel so you don't miss any more of our videos. Follow me on Twitter at _JasonLT so you guys don't miss show announcements. Don't forget about our podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts under Hoops Tonight. It's really helpful if you leave a rating and a review on the podcast feed. And last but not least, keep dropping mailbag questions in those YouTube comments so we can keep hitting them throughout the rest of the fall. All right, let's talk some basketball. So, a little bit of a unstoppable force versus an immovable object today, right? 13 previous games, the Indiana Fever were 10-3, number one offense in the WNBA, versus Las Vegas Aces team that is the two-time defending champ, has been the fifth best defense in the league on the season, but also has been ramping it up as of late as they've been trying to get ready to defend and finish off a three-peat, and they've been the number two defense in the WNBA in the previous 5 games. And so, difficult challenge, right? This Fever offense has been really, really good. They've been scoring in transition a lot. They've been the Las Vegas Aces are actually the best transition scoring team in the WNBA, but the Indiana Fever are actually second on that list, and especially as of late in the last couple of months, they've been really, really active in transition. They're constantly looking to push. Kelsey Mitchell is second in the WNBA in transition points scored, according to Synergy. Melissa Smith has done a lot of great work in transition. Caitlin Clark just constantly throwing kick-ahead passes. For the modern NBA fan, think like Tyrese Halliburton with those kick-ahead passes. With the old-school NBA fan, think like Steve Nash. The idea of constantly looking for someone running their lane with the opportunity to avoid facing the set defense. Indiana has also struggled a little bit with ball pressure at times this season, and that's just another way that they can try to avoid that, right? And then when they get in the half court, they just have this beautiful 5-out motion that they've been running. They've been just the quintessential example of modern 5-out offense with Kelsey Mitchell on one side of the floor and Caitlin Clark on the other side of the floor. Two really good screeners and rollers that can also punish post mismatches in Aaliyah Boston and Melissa Smith, with Lexi Hull just being one of the most deadly catch and shoot shooters in the entire WNBA this season, just spacing the floor over on the weak side. They've just been really, really hard to guard. They get the ball from side to side and run multiple actions on the same possession. They're excellent at running decoy actions. They'll have like Aaliyah Boston go set a ball screen, and then as she's rolling, they'll have Kelsey Mitchell come out of the opposite corner and like set a cross screen for her so she'll get a quick post catch on the other side. So it's like a fake ball screen that's designed to set up a post up. Or they'll have Caitlin Clark run on one side and reverse the ball, and then they'll have Aaliyah Boston dribble at Kelsey Mitchell, and then she'll come up like she's going to catch it, and then she'll just quickly cut back door and get a wide open layup along the baseline. It's a beautiful offense to watch, but it depends on two things in order for it to function. It depends on Caitlin and Kelsey getting separation on screens, and it depends on Aaliyah Boston and Melissa Smith scoring in the roll and beating mismatches in the post, right? Those are the two things that unlock that offense. Why? Because if you can't get separation on the screen, if you're Caitlin Clark, you can't bring up the screen defender. You have to bring up the screen defender to open up those pocket pass feeds to Aaliyah Boston as she's rolling to the rim. If the on-ball defender is staying attached to Caitlin, then the person guarding Aaliyah Boston doesn't have to come out as often or as aggressively, which prevents those easy catches on the roll, right? And then when you're getting the ball into the roll and when you're getting the ball into the paint for those deep post catches, it's a huge part of Indiana's offense that Aaliyah Boston's just been a monster as of late, just torching people and just straight post-up action. That was how she closed out the game against Atlanta the other night, if you guys remember, right? And so, like, those are the two most important parts of what makes the Indiana offense work. Caitlin's got to get separation on screens, and Aaliyah Boston's got to score on the roll and score in the paint. And then, obviously, to lesser extent, the same goes for Kelsey Mitchell as well as Melissa Smith. And I just got to hand it to the Aces. They did an amazing job in this game. Physical ball pressure on Caitlin all over the floor. Did a good job too of kind of the gamesmanship of working the refs, like constantly being super physical with Caitlin, but then anytime Caitlin was physical back, they'd flop and throw their heads back, and got a couple of offensive foul calls in her that way. That's just smart gamesmanship. If you're watching on your couch and you're like, oh, it's a bad call. Bad calls are part of the game. You want to try to manipulate as many bad calls in your favor as you can and avoid as many of them as you can, right? That's part of basketball. And Jackie Young in particular, as well as Tiffany Hayes, I thought just did a really good job just getting up in Caitlin's jersey and just making it so that the screen defender for the Aces just didn't have to as consistently or as aggressively come out to the level of the screen. And then the entire Aces front line is massive and athletic, and they just played really good physical defense on Aaliyah Boston as well as Nalissa Smith. And the Aces held Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston to 9 for 32 from the field, as well as just 22 points. I want to qualify it a little bit. Like, there's a certain amount of like bad night going on there. Aaliyah Boston missed some of her like little hook shots and push shots around the basket that she normally makes, especially at the tail end of the game in the fourth quarter. I thought in the early part of the game, Caitlin was forcing the issue a little bit. She took a couple of bad shots, a little bit worked up by just the emotion of the matchup. But in the second half of the game, I thought she was playing some pretty good basketball, and she was just missing. She couldn't hit she's been one of the very best catch and shoot players in the league this year. She's been particularly deadly flying off of off-ball action to hit threes, and got a couple looks like that, couldn't make them. She had a couple of really clean looks off the dribble in the fourth quarter that were off. She had that completely unguarded catch and shoot three on the right wing that was in the final 2-3 minutes or so that she left way short. Like, some of it was just Caitlin's first bad game in a very long time, and bad games happen in basketball. But at the same time, I want to credit the Las Vegas Aces defense as well. They just did a really, really nice job. TD Tutty taking it to the house. In for 6. Whatever you call a touchdown, one thing is for sure. Touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. On the ground, in the air, from the special teams or defense, we don't care how they score them. We want to bet on touchdowns. And DraftKings Sportsbook is the number one place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first NFL bet? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score a touchdown. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your bet today. You can also bet on who's going to win the Super Bowl. Right now, DraftKings has the Kansas City Chiefs as the favorite at plus 500, followed by the San Francisco 49ers at plus 600. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $250 in bonus bets instantly and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code HOOPS. That's HOOPS. That's code HOOPS for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. And then on the other end of the floor, what makes the Aces so hard to guard is they just have really good guard play alongside one of the best and most dynamic scorers in terms of screening and short rolling to the elbow that you'll find in the league. Kind of similar. It's a little bit more of an athletic and quick decision-making type of vibe, but kind of reminds me of some of the stuff we see with Joel Embiid in Philly, right? Like constantly screening and rolling to the elbows where he can look for quick ISOs in kind of advantage situations there. But it starts with a bunch of really good guards for the Aces that are good at turning the corner and getting downhill. Again, similarly to the Caitlin Clark factor. With Caitlin Clark, she does get a lot of dribble penetration as well, but a lot of the times the way she'll open up things on the pocket is just by bringing the defender up to the level of the screen, right? As we talked about earlier. She gets a little separation from her defender just by setting them up for the screen. Then she'll come off of that action and bring the screen defender up, at which point she can throw that pocket pass, right? But with the Aces guards, it's more about getting downhill. And when they get downhill, they engage that screen defender. And at that point, as the guard is chasing over the top and the screen defender is meeting the driving guard, Asia just kind of hangs out around the elbow where those pocket passes can come back to her. And then she's just been deadly as a scorer at the elbows all season. Obviously, as you guys saw, she just had tonight set the record, the single season scoring record in WNBA history. But a big part of it is her scoring there at the elbow. She's just absolutely deadly as a mid-range jump shooter. She's shooting about 46% on high volume on long twos in that area. Doesn't really matter if it's along to out, 17, 18 feet, or if it's a little closer, 12, 13 feet, she's just like clockwork, like 45, 46%. Like she's just going to knock down those shots. And then she can drive closeouts from that position about as well as anybody in the league. As you saw the play that iced the game, just a simple rip through to the left, extend out, draw the contact, and finish off the glass. She's one of the best athletes in the league, one of the best mid-range shooters in the league. Let's cut the shit for a second. A'ja Wilson is definitively the best player in the WNBA. This Caitlin Clark story is really cool. And for a rookie, she's completely unbelievable. She's arguably been the second best player in the WNBA over the last 2 months or so. And she has a really good chance to finish second in MVP voting. We have a whole video that I worked on today. I did about 35 minutes on Caitlin Clark and everything she does to unlock the Indiana Fever offense, as well as what Kelsey Mitchell does, as well as what Aaliyah Boston and Alyssa Smith do. An extensive film dive into what makes the Fever so devastating on offense. And I want you guys to check that video out when we get to the end of this week. It's going to be, I think it's coming out on Friday, if I remember correctly, possibly tomorrow. So keep an eye on the feeds. I'll tweet it out when it comes out. But all that's really cool. But make no mistake, A'ja Wilson is the best. And it's not particularly close. In addition to being a deadly high volume scorer, she's also one of the very best defensive players in the league. And it was kind of interesting to see the dynamic of this game as it shifted. So like the Aces bench really started to grow the lead in that second quarter run. And we go into the third quarter and the Aces are up by 9. And predictably, Indiana comes out. They play some really good basketball in the early third quarter. They end up cutting the lead way down. It gets close. It gets a little bit hairy there for a second. But then from there, one of the issues that Indiana was having was clean catches for A'ja Wilson around the elbow. And so one of the problems they were having is they had to give up those clean catches because they weren't doing a good job on the ball the way they were with Caitlin Clark on the other end of the floor. So the Aces guards were getting deep dribble penetration, which forced the Indiana forwards to catch the ball handler on the drive, right? That is going to leave A'ja Wilson wide open. So the way Indiana reacted to that is they started to rotate from the weak side, usually Alyssa Smith, but whoever it was that was nearby would rotate from the weak side and throw the contest at A'ja Wilson. From there, A'ja Wilson started to pick them apart with the pass. You guys remember Kelsey Plum gets a wide open right corner three. She hits another one a couple possessions later. And then Alicia Clark in that fourth quarter hit a couple huge ones as well. And so it's that classic push and pull, right? You try to defend the action 2-on-2. You defend the action 2-on-2, but you're getting too deep with your dribble penetration. That's causing problems. So now A'ja Wilson's catching clean around the elbow. Okay, so we want to take away the catching clean around the elbow. So we start to rotate from the weak side. As soon as we start to rotate from the weak side, now we're in rotation. And the Aces just have a lot of really good players. And they're going to beat you just by moving the ball around and getting to the open shooter, right? And so from there, the Aces quickly pull back away. As we talked about, a couple of good looks for Caitlin Clark that she missed, a couple of tough missed free throws from Alyssa Smith as well as Fegbenley. And it was just an impressive effort on both ends of the floor from the Aces to get their 5th win in their last 6 games. Looking championship ready, and we will see what happens. We plan on doing some coverage around the WNBA in the playoffs, so make sure you subscribe to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter at _JasonLT. I'll be sending out show announcements, as well as when I post that Indiana Fever clip. You guys can find that on my Twitter feed, but I'll tweet it out, but you can also find it on our YouTube channel as well as wherever you get your podcasts. All right, guys, that is all I have for tonight. As always, I sincerely appreciate you guys for supporting the show. For all of you who are new, don't forget to subscribe and circle back over the next month as we cover the WNBA playoffs. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you next time.